Each morning, real RSI setups are broken down with entry strategies and the technical reasoning behind every trade. This is RSI Trade of the Day with Verified Investing.
Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you guys so much for joining me at 8:45 every single morning. The market is open. We have a lot to go over in this session, so I'm going to be rapid firing these charts for you guys. The first thing I want to mention is that the HIMS chart yesterday got a nice bid out of the gate. I never gave us our entry price, continued a little bit higher. The RSI on the daily time frame, the intraday, the 1 minute charts doesn't give me any indication of where it's going to go. I'll show you what the levels are for potential buy levels or shorting opportunities. And stay tuned. There could be a top in one of the most sought after commodities. Let me show you what I'm seeing in the charts. Stay tuned to the end of this episode. I'm going to go over that for you guys. First thing, let's go ahead and go into the RSI recap. So here's the chart of HIMS. HIMS, like I said, it did have this nice bounce in the morning. Never gave us an indication of it pulling back. Never got back to the lows of the day, $49.78. Switch to the daily time frame on the HIMS chart. And the RSI is just kind of trading sideways. So now what we got to do is look at trend lines. So you still have this gap, or not this gap fill. Well, yeah, it's actually a gap fill at $49.78. Price could get down to this level. This is a good opportunity for a long play. A couple different opportunities would be $48.82, $47.81. And then I love this for a really long play. Now I've got to move this trend line, this entry point up, $46.89. I am a buyer on HIMS if it can get down there. You've got this beautiful upsloping trend line. This would be the third hit. Now the RSI is trading around the 40 on a pretty strong stock. So this would be a great buying opportunity for a swing trade, $46.89. Now you can expect a pretty sizable bounce, 10, 15, even 20% on the back of the HIMS chart. All right, let's go ahead and go into a couple other charts. JOBY had a good surge to the upside. The RSI and the price action indicated that the price is going to go higher today. So what we do is we look at the daily time frame, see where the next possible entry price is. So for me, this red bar candle, if it gets up here, would be a great shorting opportunity. JOBY is a smaller stock, so keep that in mind when shorting this thing. $17.79. The RSI on another strong stock is looking like it's going to get a rip higher. $17.79 is that first shorting opportunity. If it does get through that level, your next stop is $19.57. What I'm noticing also is look at this rounded bottom, sideways consolidation. Could be a formation of a cup and handle pattern. So what you're looking at is JOBY actually potentially going much, much higher. So what we'll do is we'll take a trend line, draw it from this downsloping trend line or this pivot high, taking a trend line, a measured move from the low end of the cup to the high end where the lip is, extending this up. And look at this. It goes right into this beautiful upsloping trend line. So if you are long JOBY, your profit level would be right around the $25, $26 level. This would also be a great opportunity for a shorting opportunity. All right, so Rigetti was weaker on the day. I had mentioned earlier that I had a potential upside target of $60. The RSI indicated that the RGTI is going to head a little bit lower. $41.01 is still a great opportunity. It was a pre-market low on last Friday. Rigetti, look at this price action. Trend line, upsloping trend line. If it gets down to that 41.01 level, look at this. Not only you have this low pivot here, but you've got this upsloping trend line, and then the RSI would be quite a bit lower, which means it would get down to around the 40 or the 50. This again would be a great opportunity. If it does end up piercing this, I think that the next possible level is 35.40. Rigetti is still a long play for me. I still think it has upside potential from this pivot low right here, from the lows. You could get a 25 to 30% bounce. So for me, I'm still really enjoying the Rigetti chart. Okay, so UPST, a fintech stock. This one I am extremely bullish on right now. So let me go ahead and go into the RSI trade of the day. So look at what happened on the daily time frame. Beautiful RSI divergence. So what I'm looking for when I'm looking at RSI divergence is you've got the RSI that's heading a little bit higher. You notice how it had this low pivot right here where you had this price at $50. The RSI headed higher as price action headed lower. Then you had this low, this pivot point right here at $46.65. And today or yesterday, you had an 8% move to the upside, continuing that relative strength index to the upside. It is going to stop here at $52.63. But now let's go to the intraday. This is telling me, oh, let me go and switch to the day intraday. Look at what happened. So as price opened up, it stayed high. It never dropped below the 30, means that institutions and retail investors are buying UPST. This thing is going to surge to the upside. Combine the intraday with the daily time frame, and this has a potential upside of $60.61. So for me, that's another 20% to the upside. This is going to be your shortable level if it gets up to this, and this would be for a day trade. So now what we're looking for is the RSI to head up to about the 50 or the 60. And if it gets into this level, this would be a swing trade short opportunity. You still have the potential of UPST heading down to this upsloping trend line, getting all the way down to $40. I don't see that happening. I think this is going to be the short-term bottom for that move to the upside. Alcoa, this was another stock. Price action stayed really strong all day yesterday, started opening up higher, continued to melt up. The RSI stayed above the 30, never dipped below the 30. And look at the daily time frame. It is starting to break out. So now this is one that I'm looking at for an upside target at $41.09. From the close yesterday, that would be another 6% move to the upside. So $41.09. This has a great recovery. If we can get through this pivot high and this gap fill, Alcoa is going to continue higher and go up to this gap fill at $46.18. So if you're in this is where I'd look to take profits. You will get some sort of a pullback, but I think ultimately it's going to go up to $46.19. I am a buyer on Alcoa still. The RSI is giving negative RSI divergence, but if you notice, it isn't overly extended. It just means that there's continual buying and selling pressure, creating these bull flags, nice pull up, bid to the upside, pull back, now going higher. Now we're looking for a consolidation right below the $41.09 at that first shortable level for a day trade, and then ultimately take profit and a swing short at $46.19. This should get the RSI probably about up to the 75 and then institute a short. AVAV I had mentioned a couple times. AeroVironment, I'm not sure what happened there, has this beautiful upsloping trend line. I'm still bullish on this. It could come down and fill the gap at $346.08, but ultimately I think this thing is going higher. Now, price action can change that, meaning that if we get below this high pivot, with this gap fill, we break this upsloping trend line, then AVAV may want to come down and hit this upsloping trend line. Look at this, another upsloping trend line, third hit, first pivot point right here at $104, second hit at $220. That's a 100% move. And now it's up another 50%, 60% from that low pivot. So when you get down to this upsloping trend line, this is a great buying opportunity. AVAV is still a strong stock. So if it gets below the 40 on the RSI or the 50 on the RSI, great opportunity to continue with a buy. Apple is overly extended. Look at what happened on the RSI and the price action. Apple ended up opening higher and kind of melted up. Sideways consolidation. $365 is what I see as a max upside. So if you go to the daily time frame, it is starting to show a sign of weakness. So look at the price action. You've had some volatility. You had a pullback to about 5.5% on Apple. That's actually a pretty substantial move on the $4 trillion company. So price action again gets up to $265. based on the fact that the relative strength index is heading a little bit lower, not continuing to make that push higher, $265 is where I would enter this for a short. Okay, gold looks like it may have topped. I know Gareth has gone over gold. What I'm seeing in the RSI is they're starting to get some volatility. When you're looking at the RSI, that is what you need as an indicator for a particular, not only indice or a stock, but also commodities. So let's go over the gold chart. Gold is starting to see a lot more selling pressure. Look at what happened. You had this beautiful price consolidation, move to the upside. The RSI continued to float up as well. Finally, you had this pivot high at $4,329, which is an astounding move for the price of gold. That was that pivot high. Then price action headed lower. The RSI headed a little bit lower, got down to 80 from 87. You had this pivot top right here at 43.55, creating negative divergence on the RSI. And now what we look for is up-sloping trend lines. So we still have a ways to go to get to an up-sloping trend line for a buying opportunity. If it gets down to this low pivot at $4,000, this could be a short-term buy. If it breaks this up-sloping trend line, gold is coming down, probably hitting this high pivot at $3,800 or even this pivot at $3,770. This is what I love to see on the RSI as well as the price action. I love this chart. Another chart I'm going to go over real quickly before I hop off is VXX. VXX is creating this positive divergence as well. I mean, it had created this positive divergence on the daily time frame. Price action headed lower. RSI continued to melt up a little bit. Finally starting to get some volatility. Look at the volatility that comes in the VXX. 24% move in just a couple of days. Getting a great pullback. $33.25 is where I'm going to get in on the VXX. This is a great buying opportunity, especially with this volatility. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining. Hopefully, if you guys need to, go back and watch this, pause these, identify these specific levels for you guys so that way you guys can get the most out of these trade setups. If you guys enjoy this, please make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing, and leave your comments in there. I love to read the comments on people who have taken these trades and are successful, or if you've taken it and you think, oh, well, that wasn't the best setup. Give me an idea of what you guys are doing. I will go over a couple questions in the next episode, so please fill them in. You don't want to miss Gareth Soloway. He's going to be going live on My Trading Game Plan in less than 2 minutes now. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.